Today's a chance you can do something amazing to feel your passion blazing and shine.
Paint with every vision, dance in new directions, explode to new heights in your mind.
I will rise up with you today.
Lift up my voice
and boldly say, we are the ones we've been waiting for.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to AGNT Speaks. I am your host, Reverend Erin McCabe, and I come to you live from the state of Missouri, where Unity headquarters is. We are Unity Village Chapel, the ministry here on grounds. And on behalf of AGNT and our leadership council, we host this conscious conversation every week. So thank you for joining us. If you're here for the first time, you can hop into the Zoom room to get up close and personal, ask questions, hold prayer requests after this live broadcast. So if you want to find out more information on that, just go to this event posting and you fill out a form, send an email, we'll hop you right into the Zoom room. So thank you for being here for this conscious conversation. We are here to awaken consciousness, to cultivate mindfulness, and to inspire conscious action. It is my delight to welcome Reverend Michelle Medrano. She comes to us from Colorado, where she serves at Mile High Church. So it is a delight to have you today, Reverend Michelle. And thank you for being here. It is such a gift to get to have these conscious conversations. And it sounds like today we're going to talk about dreams and prayer. So what do you have for us today?
Yes, I am so happy to be here with you all, and we're continuing our wonderful journey through the season for nonviolence and the 64 days. And so this week, we really are focused as the Association for Global New Thought on having dreams. And I've really been thinking a lot about the dream that many of us have that brings us all together, especially for this beautiful work that we do for AGNT. And it's predicated upon the desire that we all have for social justice, for world peace, for our world to get better, for equality for all beings everywhere, for health and well-being and wholeness, and how many of us have been working for years and years and years dreaming that dream together. And I was working on a message recently about prayer, and I went online, and I remember putting into the Google, when my prayers aren't appearing to come true. And this led to this whole cascade of people talking online about, I've been praying for world peace for 30, 40 years, and still it's not happening. I've been praying for people who are experiencing homelessness to have homes. I've been praying for starving children. I've been praying for racial justice, and still we're having all these horrible issues. And sort of this disenchantment with, hey, I'm doing this work, and it doesn't seem to be working. And I don't know if you've ever felt that way, Erin. I know I have, in terms of these big issues. And so that led me in this talk to really focus in on and take a look at and take a deeper dive into, what am I really doing when I'm praying for these world issues, when I'm dreaming a big dream for planet Earth, dreaming a big dream for the beings I share this planet with, and not necessarily seeing it. At the same time, I'm really excited because we are having the great Sister Joan Chittister coming to Mile High Church next month. And so I've been reading her books and I'm getting ready to do a workshop. And I found a quote in one of her books that I'm working with, where she talks about what happens when we are focused in on affirming or praying or marching or protesting, taking actions, being involved in legislation, lobbying, doing all that we want to do in our particular world, which, by the way, any and all of that is fine. Whatever people feel is theirs to do is what is important. But that feeling that we can have that none of what I'm doing is really making a change. Is it really making long-lasting changes? And she reminds us that in her book, Radical Spirit, 12 Ways to Live a Free and Authentic Life. She says, we do consistently and faithfully what must be done to make this world a better place. No, we may not get the credit for doing it, and that in itself drains our efforts of the corrosive pride. We trust only that our creating God will gather all the small pieces of effort and someday bring them together in a great new view of the world. Then we discover the power of patience. And so she beautifully in this book, throughout the book, reminds us what I think our teaching reminds us, that when we are focused in on an effort to create a better world, the first person that gets transformed in that process is us. And I love how Deepak Chopra says to us that we are all a cell in the body of God. And he asks us, are you going to be a cancer cell, or are you going to be a cell of love and power? So whenever we have an intention to change the world, for the world to be a better place, number one, we contribute to our own consciousness and to what we're emanating and broadcasting within us. And that in itself is amazing to do. But then when we feel called to extend that love out into the world, we get to understand that what I believe is true about every effort, whether it's an affirmation, a prayer, a dream we have for a better world, is that every time we indulge ourselves in that good thought, in that good direction, we can know we are making a huge difference. And we can know that the difference that we're making may or may not show itself to us in our lifetime, but we're doing it for our children. I do the work I do for my little friend Georgia, for all the little friends that I know in this world who are going to grow up to a better world. I do my work in spirit. I do my work in action. I do my work for that sake, and that the dream remains alive through me and as me. And I think that this is a great story she has. And then I'd love to dialogue a little bit with you, Erin. She talks about an ancient story where there's a question: how many snowflakes does it take to break a branch? The snowy owl asked the snowflake. I don't know for sure, but it must be about 1,000,000, the snowflake answered back. And how many have fallen now? The owl went on. Oh, I suppose about 5,000 maybe, the snowflake calculated. Then why do you go on with such a fruitless task? The snowy owl persisted. Because, the snowflake answered with a touch of exasperation, I want to do my part. I want to do my part. And so each one of us gets to understand that when we're building a dream of a better world together, we're all called to do our part, the part that we're called to do specifically. And that might be action, that might be visualizing, that might be talking, writing letters, all the things that we know we can do in the world, which are all amazing. And it also might be prayer and conscious work and meditation and visualization and that inner work that we do. But let's remember that every time we indulge the dream, we are making a difference, even though it might take millions and millions and millions and millions.
Absolutely. Thank you for that reminder, Michelle. I think that is a really good point to notice that because we don't see the shifts that we may be desiring or dreaming in the collective, in the time frame we'd like to see them, we can trust the process and trust the practice if we are doing what is ours to do, because that change does start here first. Yeah. And you're right, if we engage in arguing about the dream or the collective and it not shifting, then we can end up getting ourselves into a place where we're not being so helpful, because we end up depressing our energy. We end up becoming cynical. We end up having feelings and thoughts of division or discontent or disregard or disrespect and whatever these things are that are not adding to it. So if we can stick to the practice and hold the space, hold the vision, but also recognize that we are part of a collective, we are part of a whole. And so what is my cell? Like you were saying, that's a great quote by Deepak Chopra. What is the cell that I am doing within the collective? Because we do know that on a deep and on a practical level, if enough people are in a consciousness and in a mindset, there is not the space for the outpicturing of the other visions. So if there are enough people that are standing for embracing, activating, and aware of equality and honoring diversity and all of these things that we hold to be deep values, if there are enough people that hold that, there's not the space for the other. There's not the space for the hatred. Just like if you have a circle of people that are like-minded and in love and in consciousness about any of these issues that you're talking about, there are not actions being pressed into that circle that counter life, that counter wholeness, that counter love. And so we know that that's true.
Yeah.
And we want to keep our energy up there so that we continue to be part of the healthy conditions.
Yeah, and this is a law that Sister Joan talks about don't give up, because she talks about we have to have humility, because our pride, just like everything in life that we're trying to create, our pride often wants us to think it has to look a certain way. For me to know that it's successful, it has to look like this. There has to be no war on the planet. There has to be nobody doing, but she also reminds us, and I know that I've experienced just in my lifetime, the evolutionary journey of certain issues is kind of like a spiral. There will be times where it appears as though it's getting better, and then sometimes it gets really worse before there's another evolutionary jump. And the temptation is in that moment when it's getting worse, to think that our efforts are for nothing, that there's nothing good happening, to fall into that lack of confidence that you're talking about, to fall into that negative energy. Whereas humility would say, I don't like what's happening. I want to do something about it. I want it to look different, but I'm going to stay the course with my positive energy. I'm going to stay the course and believe that even this that's happening is a part of some future good that could unfold that I may not be able to understand. We all have to do that in our own spiritual practice, in our own individual unique experience of using the creative process, but we also have to remember to do it collectively and to understand that.
That's right, because we're birthing, and that's
right.
The perfect analogy. You know, if someone has been wanting to get pregnant and they finally find out they're pregnant, and they have that excitement and that enthusiasm, and then what happens? So morning sickness can sit in, and then some aches and pains can sit in, and then more bliss and more excitement, and then this comes in, and then that comes in,
and then you go
into the labor process, whether it's natural labor, whether it's a C-section, whether it's whatever happens in that experience. It's trusting the process and knowing that something beautiful is birthing. That doesn't mean that all the phases and the stages and the experience of that match that glory of the vision. I think that's where people sometimes also get stuck. We think that strength and courage, they sound so beautiful, so we think they must look beautiful as they're being activated and expanded within us, and no, they don't. Sometimes they're brutal, sometimes they're awful, sometimes it doesn't feel good, but at the end you recognize that was strength, that was courage. We were birthing something. So thank you for that reminder. We have a discussion every Sunday in our Zoom room right after the Sunday service. We just keep it going for about a half an hour to talk about what emerged. And one of the things that was shared in the Zoom room last Sunday was just a reflection of the talk, and thank you for the reminder that we are making it through this, and something good is happening. And then the person said something like, I just really hope that something really great comes from this. I just really want to trust that, that something amazing is coming from this time. And I said, yes, and we have to be committed to making that happen.
Right.
So that's our part, is being committed to being engaged, not just a recipient of that, but engaged in it and co-creating the vision and committed to that happening. And what you reminded us today helps us keep our minds elevated so that our alignment is with that commitment.
Keep your prayers up for your dreams and the dreams we share together. That's important.
There you go. Thank you, Reverend Michelle. Let's have a clip from one of her recent Sunday services.
Truth is that no one can merit God. And that, it was really meaningful to me. When we are praying, a lot of times we're trying to get God's favor, get God's merit, his favor. We don't earn God a prayer, a legalistic hurdle, a devotion at a time. We don't earn God, she's saying. We don't need to earn God, because the basic life-giving truth is that we already have God. God is here with us in this forever. And she goes on to say, trying to earn God only keeps us rule-centered failures, because no one can do it perfectly. And that really resonates for me. And having had some time in my youth in the Catholic Church, to hear those words from a nun is like opening. Wow. Powerful, because I resonate with that. And I think that this is part of when we start to take our power, not only in prayer, but in our life as a co-creative being. When we understand that our role is not to earn God's favor, to get God's approval, to get God to say yes to us, but rather to become aligned with God. And to know that when we begin to do that, that we can be more effective in our prayers. I also said last week, and I stand on this, that I don't believe that there's a wrong way to pray necessarily. So praying in that way that might be somewhat born of separation isn't that it's bad or wrong or it's a sin or it doesn't work. I just feel like praying from that place of alignment is what is more effective for us.
Thank you for that reminder, Reverend Michelle, and thank you everyone for joining us this week for AGNT Speaks. We'll be back next week with a new message relevant to what's going on today. So if you'd like to hop into the Zoom room, feel free to do that. If you appreciate the work of the Association for Global New Thought and you want to be a part of keeping that happening, consider being an individual member. By just contributing, tithing, giving $50 a year, you can join as a member and you can access so many more portals that are available on our website. And also, if you represent a ministry and you would like to join, there is a ministry joining program too. So you can become a member and be a conscious contributor, a conscious co-creator of AGNT. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week. And if you want to know more about the event where Sister Joan is coming to Mile High, it is a virtual event as well that you can participate virtually. So we'll post that on the Facebook page because she is a change maker. She is a mover and a shaker. And they are just delighted to be having her come. So if you'd like to be part of that activity, a part of that consciousness, you'll be able to find out more on our AGNT Facebook page. We'll see you next week. Hello, everyone in the Zoom room. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Remember how this goes. If you have a question, you can pop onto the Q&A button. If you would like to pass a comment back and forth, you can put that in the chat room. And if you raise your hand, Barbara will help you get right onto the screen here so that you can join us for this conversation. And Teresa, thanks for letting us know that you're going to be joining the class that begins tomorrow. We're glad that you're here. And if anyone else wants to join that class, if you visit, I think, the Mile High Facebook page or Reverend Michelle's, you'll be able to see more information about how to hop onto those things. So thank you for participating in that consciousness that transforms, Teresa. So I don't see any questions yet. But Reverend Michelle, thank you for that conscious conversation today.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah, thank you. I think that it's really wonderful to feel that dream that people have that motivates them to want to change the world, want to be a change maker for sure.
Yeah, and it does take a strength. I think of people that are kind of on the front lines of so much intense change work, that it's a part of their daily living. When I was in college, I actually got my degree in environmental studies. And I remember by the time I was done with my studies, I remember thinking, I need to check in. And I was just beginning in Unity. I found Unity in college in Boulder, but I remember thinking, I don't think I can get a job in this right now. I think I need to do something else that's going to keep my, kind of like my depression level, my energy level, my light level up a little higher, because I could feel myself buying into the fear. I could feel myself looking at the statistics, looking at the global warming. And this was how many years ago? Like, I don't want to count how many years ago. Isn't that funny that I'm saying that now? I mean, it was a lot of years ago. And that was, when the environment, it was a whole different situation than looking at it now. And I remember thinking, just knowing in consciousness, I need to support the people that have the endurance to be on the front line and to be faced with this every day and to still be positive, to still be taking action, to still be focusing, because you're not going to be much of a contributor if you're sitting here going, we're messing it up. We're messing it up. It's awful. It can't be, it can't be fixed. And so I went into, I thought, what brings me light and joy? And it was kids, being with kids. So I went into teaching and did camps and then Unity, because it was like, okay, where can I, and from those places, I could be like, look at every day we're seeing people with new inventions. Every day we're seeing a generation with a different future. Every day we're seeing, because that could keep me up there. But other people have the endurance to be looking at what's not working constantly and still say, let's hold to this. Like, look at Bernie Sanders, not to be political, but just his consciousness, right? The guy has been having the same conversation about how can we awaken to our wholeness and our like deeper community and taking care of each other in the face of kind of not getting a lot of it for so long, but still keeps going.
Right. Yeah. I think what you're talking about in a way is ministry, that everyone has ministry, not just people who like us who identify as ministers, who are spiritual leaders, but everyone has ministry, and it might be related to purpose, but it's that place within us where we can do in some ways, the littlest effort and make the biggest difference. Like you're talking about your experience. And, my son is now 22 years old, and I will admit, I hope that he would become a very spiritual being, and he is in his own way, but it's been fascinating to watch him kind of stumble into and now find his life purpose. He is a campaign manager for political folks who want to run for different campaigns. And a lot of people will say, do you think he'll ever be a candidate? And I'm pretty confident, no, my son will never be a candidate, but his life purpose is finding good people that he believes in and helping them get elected. And he has huge integrity about it. I mean, he got offered a job on one of the presidential campaigns for a candidate that he did not respect. It came with a lot of money that would have paid him even if that candidate fell out before they got to become the candidate for that party. And he said no, because he didn't resonate with that candidate. He wants to find candidates that he believes in, people that he thinks can really make a difference in the world. And it's fascinating to watch him be so committed to that and so clear about that. And he's gone and done his work and works very hard and makes a difference in all these different campaigns that he's run so far. And they've all gotten elected. And then he sends them on their way to go do their good work, and he stays in touch with them, and he loves them and supports them, and goes find another candidate that he can help elevate. So I really watch him and I'm thinking, that's it. It's not that every one of us should be a campaign manager, but finding if everyone found their ministry in the world, whatever it is, and did it with that kind of dedication and that kind of intensity, and prayed about the issues in our world and prayed to show up to be the best we could be, that would change the world in a profound way.
That's right. That's such a good point, because, that's looking at what you want, but not looking through just, one lens to see if this is what I want, this is what I have to do, because that's what it takes. It's like a whole different paradigm where you look and you see, actually, it's all one body, and there are all these aspects to it, parts to it. Nothing happens in a vacuum. So there is, like, behind even what we do, behind every minister, there's a load of other stuff. There's everyone who contributes financially. There's everybody who prays. There's everybody who does. There's everybody who joins the Sunday service so that we can just like drink from that pool of consciousness and press out a Sunday talk. There's all these parts. And if you think that you have to have one that you may not be suited to, that's an illusion. There's actually one that is so perfectly you that you will find your kind of higher energy and higher skill set and all of that stuff, and just press into there. That's so perfect. And because I always love, talking about supporting the people that are doing what we believe in, because we can't all do everything ourselves. But if we support the ones that are doing the work that we want to see in the world, whether that's giving to an environmental organization, whether that's supporting a candidate or a community group that does what you believe in, it's like when we see good happening, it's ours to support it.
Yep.
And that's so cool that he found one of his spaces of expansion into that activity. Yeah, because sometimes it's the person behind the person. You see that a lot with relationships. You see, people have a relationship for a long time, and then one lifts off, and the other one says, actually, everything good that you thought I was doing, it was this togetherness, it was this partnership that really made things come alive, and we're just a big whole.
Right.
All of us, we're just a big whole together.
All connected. Yep. Barbara says the wind beneath my wings. That is exactly right. Yeah.
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 Well, thank you everyone for being here with us today at AGNT Speaks. We will see you next week. And Reverend Michelle, again, from my heart to your heart, thank you. It's good to see your face, and I appreciate you being here with us today.
My pleasure.